Hi, and welcome back to our study of Pilgrim's Progress. Thank you for continuing to tune in. This is a chapter where a lot of people say, I just don't know if I can keep reading Pilgrim's Progress. So thank you for keep continuing to keep going, and I want to encourage you that the action is getting ready to pick up again. But for right now, like I mentioned last time, there are a couple chapters in a row where dialogue is really heavy, because Bunyan's trying in between points of action to bring in some really important thoughts. And so as we read this chapter, I think it kind of hits all of us in some way where we're really challenged. And I think for most of us, as we read about Talkative and Faithful and Christian coming up and finding this man that we find out Christian knows who he is, as he begins to talk to Faithful, all of us as we read that think initially, I believe, this sounds like a pretty good guy. He's got some great things that he's been able to say, and Bunyan sort of brings us in to the kind of deceit that Faithful falls prey to as well. That here seems like a wonderful man, but it took someone like Christian who had observed him for some time to realize he knows everything to say in his head, but his life just doesn't back that up. For all of us, I think this comes as a real sobering chapter, because Faithful and Christian both speak about things that I think all of us have to be challenged with. Any Christian who can read the things that Talkative says and the challenges that Faithful gives and just somehow shrug that off, I think would have to have a bit of a deadened conscience. All of us should be challenged by the reality of, do other people in our life think that we believe what we say we believe or we claim to believe by the way that we live? Talkative comes as a real challenge, because at the end of the day, he knows the right answers and he knows the things to say to bring people in, but he just can't get his own life to back up what's going on. Now, there's several wrong ways that we could take this passage, and even Bunyan's tries to be careful to keep us from falling off either side of that cliff. That we aren't supposed to take this in some way that means that Christianity is really all about trying to do things so that other people think we're wonderful people. That obviously is hypocrisy as well. But Bunyan is trying to say that anybody who has real faith, just like the Bible points to, if you have a written book that you're actually reading along with us, you probably have an edition that includes notes that shows the scriptures that Bunyan is referencing when his characters like Faithful are having this conversation. This is a biblical idea that faith has fruit. And at the same time, for any believer, we'll be challenged by saying, I recognize that there's things that I know and that the Lord knows that perhaps others don't know. And this is a reminder of saying, in my life, I want to be someone who not only thinks that somehow the knowledge or the way that I've been able to present myself in front of others is going to make a huge difference, but that I want to be accounted worthy by God. Now, obviously, only Christ's blood can give us true worthiness before God. And so Bunyan's not arguing against that. But he is arguing in the way of the New Testament, speaking about whether or not we will shirk back, or whether we will be embarrassed at the coming of the Lord, or whether we'll realize that we've been doing what we've been asked to do. We don't do that perfectly, and at times we don't even do it well. But I think all of us today, as we read the words in chapter 8, we can ask ourselves the question, is in my life, am I living out what I claim to believe in my mind and heart? Is it making the kind of impact that's making a real difference for me personally? Or if I'm really honest, am I able to say that in my own heart and life, I'm just doing whatever I want and claiming Jesus at the same time? I know that I personally have walked through several seasons in my life at times where I just realized the way that I was living was tremendously different than the claim that I was making spiritually. I know there are times where either the Lord got a hold of me or other people who spoke that counsel into my life. And for all of us, we have those moments where we realize that we've not been walking as we should. And so for all the challenge of reading all of that dialogue, what I hope the good in each of our hearts that will be done is that we'll be able to look at our own lives and ask the question, am I more of a talkative or more of a faithful? Am I someone who knows the right answers and can fool those people who don't know me really well into thinking great things about me, but the longer that they know me, the more they'll say, well, really, this person's just this instead of that. I think it's a challenge for each of us to examine that not only the others in our lives, but more importantly, the Lord Jesus knows each thing that we do. He knows each place where we go. He knows each passion and drive of our heart, how we use our time, and all sorts of other things. And while God desires for us to enjoy this world that we've been given in a sense of enjoying His creation and enjoying the gifts of living and all the blessings that come with that, at the same time, He's called us to follow Him. And so this chapter becomes a great examination of us looking at our own heart and life and asking the question, am I following the Lord the way I should be? I want to invite you to think through that as you continue to read this book. And though there's heavy dialogue in this chapter, whether you've read it already or whether you're about to, I want to encourage you to ask yourself the question, is my life matching what I claim to think, what I claim to believe, and who I claim to be? I look forward to seeing you again next time. God bless you.